What's going on, comic fans? It is Mike from the Hardcover Comic here. Hope you're all doing well, staying safe and sound, having fun reading comics. There's a lot of good stuff coming out now. I mean, my goodness, whether it's Boom, Image, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, every publisher's putting out fire right now. There's a lot of amazing content out there. And today I wanted to talk about 5 Image comic series that I highly recommend you check out. They're all relatively new. They all started, within 2020, 2019 at the earliest. So all relatively new series you can still get into. Pick up a couple trade paperbacks and you'll be up to speed. These are books that I imagine will, of course, be in trade paperbacks or potentially in oversized hardcovers. We'll talk about that a little bit as I speak about each series. I'm very excited to talk about this. I love Image Comics. I love, the stories that are coming out that are non-superhero based. And even if they are superhero based, it's really nice to get a perspective outside of the big two and the status quo that you typically see over there. If you're looking for Image Comics, if you're looking for hardcovers, trade paperbacks, deluxes, if you're looking for big two omnis, absolute editions, library editions from Dark Horse, look no further than organicpricebooks.com. They're a sponsor of our show. Use the promo code THC2 at checkout. It'll get you $2 off every single one of your orders. You can pre-order, you can see what's on back order. Be sure to follow them at Organic Price Books on Instagram to find out what is new and restocked so you can go and pick it up while it's hot and available. Use the promo code THC2 at checkout. Now let's talk about some Image titles. First off, we'll start off with a book by a writer that's a pretty safe bet in terms of whether his books will be successful or enjoyable for the most part. Firepower by Robert Kirkman and Chris Samney. An amazing story. This was a book that I really wasn't that excited about, to be honest with you all. I wasn't that excited. I enjoyed what I read of Oblivion Song. I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of that series. But Outcast didn't do much for me. The Walking Dead was good, but I sort of fell off about halfway through. I love Invincible, one of my favorite stories of all time. But Robert Kirkman is sort of a roller coaster ride for me. Sometimes I dig his stuff, sometimes I don't. And Firepower, it didn't seem like a book that would get to me. It seemed a little more childish, a little more, a little less mature than the books that I'm used to from Robert Kirkman, but I was so pleasantly surprised by this title. I think a big part of it is Chris Samney and his incredible storytelling and artwork. Chris Samney is honestly one of the greatest creators that has graced the industry. He is so talented. The way he tells a story with his paneling and his sequencing, the directing that he does of the scenes is absolutely incredible. But what Firepower is about is it's about a gentleman named Owen who arrives at the Temple of the Flaming Fist, a hidden temple. This is a callback to things like Iron Fist, a callback to things like Batman traveling to, find the monks to train with. A little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender in there, wherein at this Temple of the Flaming Fist, there's a group of people who are basically, they're training to channel their energy into heat, whether it's to, heat up literal bowls of rice or, try to project fire. Like I said, this wasn't a book I had high expectations for, but I was pleasantly surprised. I've read the prelude and a little bit of the ongoing series. I cannot recommend this book enough. It took me by surprise. The ending of the prologue got me extremely excited for the ongoing series, and the ongoing series has been fantastic. It is a little less mature than the other titles Kirkman has worked on, but it's good because it's still enjoyable as an adult. I really thoroughly enjoy this book. It's great to see characters growing again. It has that sort of innocence to it, that comics did when you first started reading them, and these origin stories weren't so boring and repetitive. It's really great. I highly recommend it. If you've been on the fence about it, check it out. I guarantee this book is going to have oversized hardcovers. It's Robert Kirkman and Chris Samney's artwork. I can't wait for those hardcovers to drop and be announced and all that fun stuff. But Firepower, please check it out. Next up, a title that also took me very much by surprise. I've heard a few things about it, not too much, so I kind of went in just hoping for the best, and man, was I pleasantly surprised. Stillwater by Chip Zdarsky and Ramon K. Perez. Wow, what a fantastic, fantastic book. Really, an interesting concept, but not one that's entirely unique. It's not, a complete curveball out of the side, a completely unexpected storyline, but either way, Stillwater focuses on, it's basically, the story starts off, you're introduced to these characters, Tony and Daniel finds out he's received an inheritance from some relative he doesn't know about in a place called Stillwater. And so these two gentlemen go out there, their lives aren't too great, they're kind of monotonous and boring, they kind of want to break the rules a little bit, and so they go to Stillwater. Stillwater, it turns out, and I'm not spoiling much here, you find all this out within the first issue. Stillwater, it turns out, is a place that doesn't really show up on many maps. You can Google Maps your way to it, but there are really no road signs for it. The roads to it are kind of sketchy. And it turns out there's a reason for that. Stillwater is a place that wants to stay hidden. It's a place where people basically don't age. They're immortal. They can't die. Very, very interesting concept. Really, really enjoyed it. It's not what I was expecting at all going into the book blind. I had no idea what the story was about, and I was thoroughly and pleasantly surprised. The characters are exciting. The dialogue is exciting. The artwork is really great. It took a little bit for me to warm up to it, but after a while, it really matched the pacing of the story, and it really gave a little life to the story as well. It was great. You really warm up to the artwork, in my opinion. I really like this story. I can't wait to find out what happened. What is Daniel's past? What is his relationship to some of the characters within Stillwater? I don't want to spoil things. There are a lot of twists and turns within this. Why are these people here? How are they here? What happened? And really, how is this thing going to end? I mean, what is going to happen? I'm so excited to find out. I can't recommend Stillwater enough. I hope one day we see oversized hardcovers for this, but that's all I can do for now is hope. Be sure to check it out, so hopefully we can get oversized hardcovers one day. Next up is a book that I have actually physically been collecting. Granted, all of these books are titles that if there are no oversized hardcovers for one day, I may just bind myself, but Homesick Pilots, written by Dan Waters with artwork by Chris Wingard. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but I tried. I know I've seen Chris's work on other titles with Dan Waters. I forget what the mini was called, but they did a mini series together a few years ago. Similarly themed, had to do with sort of the musical exorcism and possession. It was actually very cool. I wish I remembered the name because it's a great title, but I digress. They worked on that. Chris also worked with Kieran Gillen on Peter Can and Thunderbolt, that Dynamite, fantastic miniseries. And Dan Waters most recently he's done a whole bunch of stuff recently. He's got a few Image comic series going, Coffin Bound and Homesick Pilots, and he's also got Lucifer at Vertigo, or had Lucifer at Vertigo Comics. A really, really creative dude who has insane ideas. Homesick Pilots is one of those crazy ideas. It focuses on, I'd say 3 characters, maybe 4 characters, at least in the start. The 3 characters being Amy, Rip, Buzz, and the House. These characters, they're in a band. They're called the Homesick Pilots. They're trying to plan a gig, and they stumble upon this house. They think of this idea, hey, let's go to that haunted house. There are all these stories about this incredible house. People have committed suicide. They've dealt drugs here. They've murdered people. All these things. It's a very, very fascinating house, and they decide, hey, let's go and do a gig here. Anyway, without trying to spoil too much of what happens, even though most of this happens in the first issue, this group of characters gets into trouble, particularly Amy. It turns out this house is definitely haunted, and it's a unique kind of haunted, I must say. It has some very weird things going on. It wants to get some of its furniture back. It turns out the furniture is more than just furniture, and it's got these abilities to sort of, I'd say in general, there are items within this world, universe that Dan Waters and Chris Wingard have built that can animate and do crazy things in unison with people. There are a lot of questions. There's a lot of mystery behind this. There is a sort of antagonistic group that also joins in, although the lines are kind of blurry as to who's a protagonist and who's an antagonist within the story. It's a very, very trippy book. There is a lot going on. There are many shades of gray within the book. It's really fantastic. I really cannot wait to see what happens in the story. The first arc was spectacular, and it ended on a great cliffhanger that makes me very, very excited for arc 2. I hope the series continues past the first 2 arcs. I'm not entirely sure as of this recording, but we'll see in a few months months. I highly recommend checking out Homesick Pilots. The artwork is spectacular. It's truly a unique story. You probably haven't read a story like this, and you probably won't read another story like this, so please check it out. The second last book I want to talk about, if you've followed the channel, if you know about the title Ice Cream Man and my love for it, and my YouTube channel partner Matt's love for it, you know that Haha is going to be on this list. Haha is a mini-series written by W. Maxwell Prince with a variety of artists. Every issue has a new artist working on the title. I'm trying to figure out a way to explain this story, explain what this series is about. It's quite tough. It's very tough to do because it's about so many things. It focuses around the idea of clowns, essentially. Clowns or people that, dress up like clowns or put on makeup, if you will. And each issue focuses on a different topic. It focuses on a different set of characters entirely. Not all of the stories have happy endings. Not all of them have sad endings. But all of them really make you, they leave you thinking. They leave you contemplating things about your own life, about experiences in your own life, people in your own life. This series tackles mental illness. It tackles depression, anxiety. It tackles poverty. It tackles finding meaning in life, finding your passion in life. It tackles capitalism, the changing of the times. There are so many things that play a factor in this book, that influence the story in this book, that influence and drive the characters within the stories within the book. I really love this. I love this title. I wish it wasn't a mini. I hope I'm wrong in saying that it is a mini series. Last I checked, it still was, ending with issue number 6. A truly, truly spectacular ride. Not too far off from Ice Cream Man, but not similar enough where it feels like it's the exact same book, just with clowns instead. I highly, highly recommend it. The art is fantastic. Each artist brings their own amazing flavor to the title. And Maxwell Prince gives a story that matches their artwork perfectly. I really, really cannot recommend this enough. It seems like a weird book. You're not sure what you're going to get. It is a little scary. There is a bit of horror to it, but it's not all that. And I highly, highly recommend checking out Haha. All right, the last book. I can't say I'm saving the best for last, but I'm saving something pretty damn good for last. Crossover by Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw. So, again, if you're new to this channel, you don't know this, but if you're a fan of the channel, you know myself and my partner Matt are not big fans. My YouTube channel partner Matt are not big fans of Donny Cates, at least not his Marvel work. It hasn't impressed us too much, but we've really adored his image work, and I must say Crossover is continuing that trend for me personally. It's Donny Cates' take on what would happen if there was a crisis of infinite Earths, and our Earth happened to be part of that crisis. Superheroes broke in and started destroying things, and somehow we managed to contain that as a human race, and we managed to keep some of these heroes in chopped up into different pieces and separated in storage units, or just kept in display cases, whatever it may be. A very, very interesting story. What's fun about this title is that Donny Cates actually explores what people within this universe would then do afterwards. Once all these heroes are contained and things are relatively safe, seeing how comic book shops would change, for example, seeing how religions would change, seeing how government would change, seeing how the military would change, all these different things factoring in. What's really great, this title focuses on a character named Ellipses, L for short. Really, really interesting character in that she works at a comic store. She's not really sure what's happening, but she knows that there's something more to this life than just, sort of worrying about these comic characters that are now trapped inside of this dome. And she wants to figure out what they can do, what can be done with these people, how they can sort of maybe even revolutionize society and civilization. They also, without spoiling too much, there's also a little twist at the end of the first issue that adds another element of it adds another variable into the mix of the story. There is a love element to this story as well. There's a lot happening. There truly is a lot happening, and I'm very excited to see where this story goes, because I think there's a lot to explore here. It's a really fun concept. It's a concept I think we've all made our own fan fiction about in our own times. So I'm really interested to see what these two gentlemen come up with. Donny Cates has a really creative mind. Jeff Shaw is an incredible, spectacular artist. I really hope we get to see oversized hardcovers for the title one day. I've really enjoyed the artwork so far. I mean, Jeff Shaw has gone crazy with some of the 2-page spreads. Absolutely stunning artwork. But please check out Crossover as well. So those are 5 image titles that are relatively new that I recommend checking out. A lot of these I think are within like 12 issues even. So I highly recommend checking them out. You can quickly jump on the bandwagon and keep up with the story without having to catch up over a few months. Let me know down below what other image titles you would recommend that are relatively new as well. Please check out Organic Price Books for any new purchase you're looking for, any pre-orders. Check it out there. JP is amazing. And if you use the promo code THC2, you'll get an extra $2 off your order every single time you place an order. So thank you all very much for tuning in. This is Mike from the Hardcover Comic. Until next time, as always, you stay classy, Internet.